Welcome to this interview to get to know Mr. Sebastian Büchert. He is CEO at the medtech company Bentley Endovascular Group AB. Welcome, Sebastian.
Thank you, Matthias. It's a pleasure to be here.
Nice to have you here. And we're here also to talk about Bentley. Founded by Swedish serial entrepreneur Lars Sunnanväder. What is Bentley?
Well, as you said, it's a company founded by Lars Sunnanväder. He already founded 13 medical device companies, and the Bentley is dedicated for minimally invasive products to treat vascular diseases.
And how do you improve your clients' lives?
So actually, there are different patterns of vascular disease. Either vessels could be occluded or they could be endangered to rupture, and therefore what we can do with our products, they can be repaired from internally. In the past, those patients would have to undergo a major surgery to open the body to access the vessels, and nowadays with our technology you can do that in the body, and usually they leave the hospital 1-2 days later.
And Sebastian, could you give us a brief of who you are, what's your background, and why did you join Bentley?
Yeah, well, so I'm since 29 years in the medical device industry. I'm a trained economist, and I started my business life 29 years ago in the first company that Lars Sunnanväder ever founded. And after 9 years, I then left this company when it was acquired by the Swedish company Getinge, and joined 2 other companies for a total of 12 years, when suddenly Lars called me up after we hadn't spoken for a very long time, and he told me that in the meantime he had founded his 13th company and would like me to join them. And I was a bit hesitant at that time because I was having quite a big responsibility in an international concern, and then he wanted me to join that startup. But he really wanted me to, and he offered me to become a shareholder, and that's why I joined, and I'm very happy that I did so 8.5 years ago.
Regular headhunting, you might say then. So what is driving the success of Bentley?
Well, first, we certainly have products that stick out from competition. They are doing really a good job in terms of efficacy and safety. But then it's also the services that we build around them. Bentley had quite a good growth history in the last couple of years. So we've been founded in 2009. We came to the market in 2012. And since then, we've been seeing quite some good growth. We're now close to 300 employees. After an acquisition, we'll be 400 as of July. And we continue to grow not only because we have leading products, but also because of the services that we build around them.
What would you say is your leadership role, and can you describe your team?
Well, I think in the 29 years that I've been in medical devices, I learned to trust people. And I do have a very good management team at Bentley that I fully trust. We have specialists in all the regions of the company. And the thing is that we try to build up our talents from internally. So we always try to promote internally, and that brings us to a situation that all our managers, they know exactly what it's about, what are the challenges of medical devices, about the legislation around them. And I believe that is a stronghold, and I'm just trying to make sure that they have the surrounding they need to do the good job that they can do.
So how would you describe your organizational culture?
Yeah, we have really still this, even if we're far away from being a startup, but we still have been able to preserve that culture in a way of being able to make things possible. It's always we can do it, and we call it the Bentley style. It's always a little bit still this culture of a speedboat, but at the same time, we also have the structure nowadays of an international company where everything is well organized. And I think it's this mixture between the fast-moving, agile company, but still the professionally organized one.
There were 2 founders to the company. What role do they play today?
So actually our founders are still represented in the board today, and the board is led by Lars Sunnanväder so far, but he's currently handing over to his daughter Annika Sunnanväder, who inherited his smart brain, and I'm very happy to be working closely with her in the future.
Bentley has a very strong financial background. What is driving you?
Well, the financial background is really coming from us making sure that we have enough competitive advantage to justify the prices that we need that allow us to continue to invest. We're in a sector that is still very young. It's not too long ago that patients with such vascular diseases could not be treated at all or would have to undergo major surgery. So it's now a new approach that you can do it under X-ray supervision, and you don't have to open the body anymore. And we're trying to reinvest the margins that we earn into future product generations that make treatments even safer and faster.
What is your growth strategy going forward, and where will you be in, say, 5 years?
Yeah. So actually, so far, we only had organic growth by expanding geographically and by enhancing our penetration of the markets we were active in. But what we can still do is we can expand to China and the US. These are two major markets we're missing just because they have their own approvals that they require. We have been doing a clinical study in China, which is already finished. So we conducted a trial with 180 patients. The 1-year follow-up period is done. We are now submitting for the approval and hope to add China to our markets in 2024 and the US in 2027. And this is then certainly adding new geographical areas with a huge population, so we can continue growth there. And at the same time, we have also started to grow inorganically by acquiring technology that complements our product range and therefore building up a complete product portfolio so that our products are also getting more and more interesting for the treatments that interventional radiologists are doing, so especially crossing heavily calcified vessels.
Exactly, and you just recently announced that you acquired the Swiss medical device company Qmedics. Why was that?
So that's actually been our second acquisition to mostly secure our supply chain. Qmedics is manufacturing 80% of the balloon catheters on which the Bentley stents are being mounted and delivered to the patients. So it was very crucial for us to make sure that we have access and control over this important supplier. But along with this came products that Qmedics developed, which are mainly targeted for interventional radiologists to treat heavily calcified vessels in the hips and lower. And with that, we can really build a complete product portfolio for this target group of interventional radiologists. And we are convinced that this will offer quite some growth potential for us in this field.
And talking about products, what is your product strategy going forward?
Yeah, as mentioned before, the thing is that we are in a very young sector, and so far physicians in that field have been using products that were not explicitly developed for that usage, simply because the market was too small so that a manufacturer would do something for that. So they learned to do their work with things that were not optimal, but in the meantime that field has grown significantly just because of the good patient outcomes. So it's still considered a niche where the big players wouldn't enter, but the niche is attractive enough for Bentley to now start developing dedicated products that will allow it to shorten procedure times and improve patient outcomes.
You mentioned entering the US market. What is your go-to-market strategy?
So for the US, we will definitely choose a direct sales model, having our own sales representatives in the field. That is not a strategy that we definitely always follow. We are direct in 6 countries so far, out of 80 countries that we serve in total. Actually, in the 29 years that I've been in medical devices, most of the time I've been responsible for global sales organizations, and I learned to distinguish quite well where it makes sense to have a direct sales force and where not. And the US is one of the countries where you want to have that.
Absolutely. You also talk a lot about customers and customer service. What is it that you do different from others?
Yeah, well, you have to imagine that the patients that get treated with our products, they're usually very sick, especially when they receive a treatment in their aorta. And those patients usually need to receive a custom-made graft. That is not manufactured by Bentley, that is other manufacturers, but it takes a couple of weeks. And in that time, they are asked to stay at home, keep calm and make sure that their aneurysm wouldn't rupture, because that could lead to death relatively quickly. And then after a couple of weeks, they finally get the call from the hospital telling them that their custom-made prosthesis is there, they can get operated. And then to fit that in, you need the stents of Bentley to connect the side vessels. Now imagine if such a patient would have to be sent home again because of the stents of Bentley not being available. And that is why we put a very strong emphasis on the availability of our products. We call it delivery reliability. And we've been able to ensure delivery reliability of 98% in the last 4 years. And that is something that is valued very much by our physicians.
Sounds like it. How important is digitalization and IT in your business model?
So actually, I've always been impressed by companies where I had the feeling that they have a very strong IT backbone. And that is something that we are also building up for Bentley. We believe that nowadays a company can act fast and agile, and that's what we want to do if information is available. And therefore you need interfaces between your systems so that you can really access at your fingertips all the information. And I must say I'm currently now here with Stockholm, but I'll be able to approve new hirings, to approve expenditures and everything from my mobile the minute we finish this interview. So everything can still be on the move, and that's why we're investing heavily in that field as well.
And if you were to give us an outlook, what are your 3 top priorities?
So first, we have to finish the acquisition of Qmedics. It's been signed on the 21st of April. Closing is projected for the 1st of July. Then we need to integrate products of the Qmedics family into the Bentley product family to build up our dedicated product portfolio for interventional radiologists, which shall be launched in January. Then certainly we are preparing the IPO, and we are preparing the launch of future products, indications and markets.
Talking about the IPO, you also recently announced a share-based incentive program for your employees. Why is that important to you?
Well, actually, you know, I got the sense myself how big the difference is if you work for a company where you own some shares. When Lars got me to Bentley, he got me motivated to join by giving me shares of the company, and it changed my feeling, really. And we then made sure that all our directors in the company would have shares as well, and also there we felt it made a change. None of them ever left, and they feel so committed not only for their own responsibility but for the whole company's success. And we want to give shares to all our employees, firstly to thank them for the great work they've done in the last years to bring us where we now are, but also give them an incentive moving forward, that they can benefit from a strong development of the company in the future, and also give them the feeling that we all enjoy since a couple of years, how it feels to work for a company where you own a part yourself.
Great. And for the IPO, you have chosen the Nasdaq Stockholm as the destination of your planned listing. Why Stockholm?
Well, as mentioned in the beginning, our founder is a Swedish serial entrepreneur. Our chairman of the board, his daughter, is Swedish, so that is also why we have a strong connection to Sweden. But then certainly also you have a stock market here that values medical device company of our size, which we don't have in Germany, and so we're really looking forward to bring the company public here.
Yeah, very exciting. But where are you in the preparations?
Yeah, it's still quite some work to do, but that's also one of the reasons why we are currently here in Stockholm. We are driving the project forward, and we are quite positive that we can get listed in winter 23-24, which I heard winter can be quite long in Sweden.
Yeah, it can. And when can we see you the next time?
Oh, I'm visiting Stockholm very frequently now, so every 1-2 months, and I'd be happy to see you again, Matthias.
All right. Thank you, Sebastian, for joining us today.
Thank you very much.